Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this stream of Europa Universalis 4. It is the Commentator Clash, or Community Clash, for which I am the commentator, that's what I meant to say. It's been a couple of weeks since we played last, so we will go through and just double check to see what is going on, and also so I can remember what on earth the hotkeys are. We are missing a few players, so people who are absent today: CPM for Ireland, Janssen Sykes for France, and Whiteneck Raven for Ethiopia. Noteworthy is that both Ireland and France have actually dropped out. So they're protected for this session, and then they're going to be good to go for anyone who wants a piece of these two rather large countries. So I suspect there's going to be a bit of a bloodbath. If you are interested in joining the game, this would be a very good opportunity to do so, because we do have two rather large countries now available, and you can jump in as those if you like. Other countries which have dropped previously and are no longer protected: England, which is just one province now, Aragon, they are not here, and then Muscovy, the Ottomans, another one who's available, and then Daivia. Daivia, I think, is intending to come back eventually, but just couldn't make it for the last two sessions. So there we go. That is how things are shaping up at the moment. If we switch over to the player map mode, we can take a quick look at all of the played nations. We have got Valinoma up in fact, let's go via this line. We've got Blue Kiwi in Portugal, taking a large chunk of Iberia, having chunked it in three between them, Aragon and Andalusia. They are, of course, also one of the major, if not the major, colonial nation. They've done a very good job spreading their wings and flying. We then got Calico, who is in Arabia. He was, of course, Castile before Castile was destroyed, and has then taken over as Arabia. Arabia is extremely wealthy. I think they are the wealthiest nation in the game at the moment. If we take a quick look at that, Arabia is indeed. And they're basically the money behind any coalitions against the Commonwealth. We've got Commander Faceless in Malaya. Malaya having started out as Brunei. In fact, I need to update his name being Malaya. Let's do that real quick. Malaya. Cool. I'm just pressing, I didn't mean to. Good. Come on, come back. There we are. They have also been doing quite a lot of colonizing. They actually control a rather large chunk of Australia, and have been making their way over to South America, where they've actually got Malay and La Plata. Next up, we have got Darkfighter in the Mughals, who started out as the Timurids. Is that another one I haven't... Yes, another one I haven't renamed. Mughals. They started out as the Timurids, taking over that area there, moved down into Persia, moved north to cut Muscovy off from forming Russia, and now having cut the Commonwealth off from spreading any further. They've also pushed south into India, where they're at the back of Vijayanagar right now. Then we have got that guy of the Netherlands over here, having expanded through the Low Countries, taking most of the territories they need there, and then also into Britain, where they've carved up England between themselves, Denmark and Ireland. The Dutch do have colonies, the rather interesting named ones. Not huge colonies, but they are there. Oh, and also the pale colour from when they were Holland for a very, very long time. Have they expanded anywhere else? They're in South America. They are in South Africa, so they are moving towards Indonesia. And are in fact in Indonesia. Okay, cool. Then we've got Fizz Biscuits MacGuffin over in Japan, one of the later arriving players. They've consolidated the Japanese daimyos, pushed into Manchuria, and they are definitely one of the major naval powers. Like, there are a couple of big players now, certainly emerging powers in the Far East. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table once the West starts to arrive in numbers. We've got Helsenstrat in the Commonwealth, probably the strongest nation at the... well, certainly the strongest nation at the moment. They are first place in the Great Powers list by really quite a long way, having taken out Muscovy very early on, smashed Denmark around a bit, beat up Sweden, who has moved to Ava. We'll talk about them in a moment. And
nobody's done anything. I'm ready to play Mordred.
Yeah, go for it. Are we going? Actually, one thing I have not done is set up my Discord channel so I can actually see who's in the channel with me. Let me do that very quickly. Let's move you over here, you over here, and then this goes there. Because I'm always paranoid people are spying on me. They really are, but hey. Move that to there, and then the events can go here. Okay. Oh, now I don't have a chat. Now I have a chat. Hello, chat. So where were we? Oh yes, the Commonwealth. They took into Sweden, and they've had a rather long-standing alliance with Prussia and Italy. And in fact, the Commonwealth is even bigger than you would think, because they do actually own Hungary, Bohemia, and Albania. Those are all puppets or personal unions of the Commonwealth. They are enormous. Next up, we have got Holy Victor over in Mali. Kind of an interesting story Mali had. They were being seriously encroached upon by the European powers. Most of their coastline had been lost to the Irish, to the Dutch, and Danish, or was it just those two? Oh, and the Portuguese. Mali managed to push the Irish and the Dutch out of Africa, or their territories of Africa, when those guys were embroiled in another bigger war. Mali declared war and basically took the opportunity, and has formed a pretty good alliance with Portugal as basically a counter to the power over there. So Portugal's been allowed to keep their trading colonies in the Ivory Coast, which Mali would otherwise dominate, but otherwise Mali is going to be in an extremely good position to make a lot of money from the Ivory Coast. So they've done rather well out of that deal. We've got Matriarch Trav over in Ava, having moved from Sweden. Ava being kind of one of the hidden gems of Southeast Asia, extremely wealthy, some of the best territory in the game, having loads and loads of farmlands and loads of plains in this little strip of land here, of course bordered by mountains, so very difficult to attack, and certainly in a position to be a real regional power. The other thing that Ava has, of course, are a bunch of tributaries. Lannar, Taungu and Tripura all serving Ava at the moment. Next up, we've got Mean Wolf over in the Congo, having expanded slightly, took over the coast, been pushing east slowly. I kind of hope he goes a little bit quicker, because otherwise Portugal is very likely to go and gobble up Matapa. There's a lot of gold provinces over there, and in fact, has he already lost some? Not really. But that's a lot of ivory that he can still go after. Thankfully, he has actually secured the gold, so good on you. Next up, we have got Seraphicus over in Andalusia. Having missed the last session, Andalusia has been kind of beaten up by multiple other players when Andalusia was a AI, because they kept on getting dragged into wars. So he's got a little bit of recovery to do. The AI, of course, having formed Andalusia out of Morocco, even though he wanted to keep Morocco for the raiding, but he has adapted pretty well, and is now a stalwart ally of Arabia against the Common Blob and their allies. It used to be Andalusia, Arabia, and the Ottomans, but the Ottomans have dropped out, so they've definitely lost a big player in that area. Next up, we've got a new entry. We've got Yarkand having come in, hoping to form Yuan, I believe, and basically wanting to form the Mongol Empire. So certainly another big player in the region, going to be having words with the Mughals, Vijayanagar, and probably Japan. So having another player in this area is definitely going to mix things up quite a lot, and maybe Mughals, Yarkand, Vijayanagar could become another power block against Commonwealth. We shall see. We've got Val over in Denmark, one of the most elusive of the players, let's put it that way. Very definitely a tricky one to play against. He's won a couple of wars he had absolutely no right to win. He has definitely had some encroachment here from the Commonwealth. He's fortified the north of his territories with Sapmi, who have huge defences. Yeah, the music is a bit loud, isn't it? See if that fixes things. Ottomans offering alliance to Andalusia. We'll see if they pick that up. So Denmark, having not gained as much territory in Scandinavia as they would have liked because of the Commonwealth coming in, I think they have reached an agreement to that end. Denmark, of course, being active in England and having been a big rival of Ireland. And then also, have they started expanding overseas? No, not yet. Oh, yes, they have. They got the Bahamas. And also... oh, they actually have the Danish West Indies. Okay, so they do have colonies. Interesting. I had not noticed that. That's kind of slipped under the radar. Because he was planning on taking Greenland, but I guess he thought, there are better places to go for first. We have got Vigenagar, played by Klemf. At the moment, they are trying to consolidate some of the territories away from the Mughals, probably having moved north a little bit too late to stop Timurids from forming the Mughals. But Vijay has been another interesting ally for some of the other players. Let's just see what their alliance was. They are currently allied with Portugal, Arabia and Yarkand. So, one of the wars with the Commonwealth were in serious danger of doing some serious damage to Arabia, and then Vigenagar's armies arrived to put paid to that. And also, they've been an ally against Andalusia's AI incursions. Well, Arabia's AI incursions against AI Andalusia. So definitely an emerging regional power, which I think we can see some serious stuff happening from. Then we've got Cold Rage over in Italy, having formed Italy from Austria. They lost the emperorship during the Religious League Wars, where they went Protestant and lost the emperorship, which has then been seized by Prussia. Italy, at the end of the last session, fought a war against France, the Netherlands, and Andalusia, I think, was the third player in that one, and just about held out. This was an offensive war that they declared. I think they did lose a territory or two, but they were able to hold their own, even without having called in their rather large allies of Prussia and the Commonwealth. And then we have got fewer in Prussia. Very, very quiet Prussia, a very passive Prussia, but a very powerful Prussia, because Prussia is powerful because of their ridiculous military capacity. I'm hoping that we see a little bit more from the Prussians. They did have one war against the Netherlands, where they were basically punishing the Netherlands for basically mouthing off, I believe. They are allied with the Commonwealth and Italy, and these three, yeah, it's just super powerful. So, one of the most interesting things to emerge from this game, I think, would be if someone was able to break that alliance up, or was able to chip away at that alliance somehow. Commonwealth obviously being the biggest threat that the players face at this moment. Although there are definitely some other emerging powers, the Mughals, Arabia, Vigenagar, who could do some serious damage. Now, for future tensions, we have no Ireland, we have no France. These two are not coming back. We have no Ottomans. So there are some very large pieces of territory with some very large amounts of development which are basically going to be up for grabs. France especially, I think, is going to be interesting because I think they're too far away from the Commonwealth to gobble. So it's going to be a race between Italy, the Dutch, possibly even Portugal, possibly Denmark, and maybe Andalusia trying to take the south to secure Genoa from the French. So I think that the carving of that could be a serious power balance shift. And I'm kind of excited to see what happens. At the moment, we do have a couple of wars. Portugal is currently fighting against, I would assume, natives. Cocomes, Chicama, and Mexico. They are indeed fighting down here. I thought. Could be wrong. I was wrong. It's these guys. Cocomes. Oh, they're going after the big guys. Interesting. So Portugal pushing north into Mexico. So definitely going to have a bit of a showdown with the Dutch colonies here if they manage to secure a significant portion of that. That's a good move. That's a very good move. What is the tech difference at the moment? Cocomes has 11. Portuguese Mexico has 18. And then Portugal themselves have a tech also of 18. That's quite a big difference. So when there are battles, I very much suspect that the Europeans will win that conflict. And then we have Prussia fighting. What are they fighting? They're fighting against Würzburg, just trying to take over some more territory, I assume, and carving up a bit more of Germany. Prussia, of course, is the emperor currently, elected by Italy, the Netherlands, and themselves. There are only 3 electors. They've elected not to make any more. And this is after the Protestants won the the Religious League Wars, so the Protestants are in power. So there might be some tensions between Italy and Prussia if Italy fancied themselves as a better emperor. We shall see. Greenland is the real prize in this game. I can't believe nobody's going for it. I'm really disappointed that Val has kind of reneged on his promise to go after Greenland, because that was a big part of his colonial expansion plans. At least for a while. Right, let's pour myself some tea. Actually, let's keep an eye on the battle here, because I want to see if there are going to be any fights. Let's do this from the Portuguese perspective. Or from their colonial perspective, at least. Portugal spreading out quite a few troops, but I am not seeing any native units left at the moment. The natives might actually all be in the northern part of their land, cut off by the Dutch, and it's unlikely that the Dutch would have given them access. Are the Portuguese and the Dutch allied? That's a good question. Let's have a look. Portugal is currently allied with Ireland, Italy and Vijayanagar. No, they are not. And I do think that theirs is a bit of an antagonistic relationship. Three Wet Sixer, thank you very much for the follow. Commentator U4, welcome to the channel. Okay, so they are still fighting. The Vijayanagar is fighting as well. They are probably gobbling up some more of their neighbours. I'm going to guess they're going after Orissa at the moment. And no, not Tirhut. Tirhut's doing amazing. Tirhut, Assam and Orissa. Oh, that's a beautiful Tirhut. But what is their development? That's the real question. 23. Oh. I remember the heady days where we had like 60. Tirhut was the nation that I played as in the last community multiplayer game. They start small, but man, they can punch. And they can make a lot of money. A lot of money. So remember how I was saying that Ava was a region which is really good territory. Well, it turns out that they're not the only ones. There's actually a lot of really nice land up here. You can see all of this, just flat, fertile farmland, plains, and all the other good stuff. So, yeah, if you can consolidate that region, you can really start to spin a profit. And you are really close to Ava, so if you kind of spread this way, or through the mountain there, yeah, it's wealthy. It's very wealthy. So, hello chat, how are you all doing on this fine evening? It is a bit of a quiet moment. No player wars have immediately sprung up. I suspect that this is going to be a little bit of a quieter one. I think that the real wars are going to kick off next time, so this is probably going to be angling for position, trying to form alliances, trying to break apart other alliances. Maybe we'll see some insults and things being thrown. But I don't anticipate a large player war. If we take a look at Italy, Italy's kind of tapped for manpower. France is completely tapped. Arabia hasn't got a huge amount. Mughals tapped. So yeah, this is going to be a period of recovery and rest. With the exception of the Commonwealth could certainly try to throw their weight around, and if they went after the Ottomans, they're only allied with Karakanulu, so the Ottomans is basically free turf at this point. Arabia should probably try to push north and take out the Ottomans if they can, before the Commonwealth does. Because the last thing you want is for the Commonwealth to grow even bigger. Oh, we've seen some Kokomis armies at last. I really want to see a battle between these guys, just to see how badly it goes. The Commonwealth offering an alliance to Portuguese Mexico. Is that even possible? I don't think you could ally with colonial nations. Oh, they're moving south. Some little Portuguese stacks. Oh, nope, there's going to be a battle right here. Nope, Kokomis has decided, nope, 4,000 Portuguese is too much for us. We can't do it. Pyro Chips, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Love that we're at the point that the Ottomans are free turf. Yeah. Oh, Portugal's noticed the threat. They're pulling their units together. They're probably going to have one big showdown. Possibly in mixed tech. It's hills, compared to some of the other terrain around, like fighting in the jungles, for example, it would certainly be better. And also, there are no rivers here. Mexico, oh no, Carabas pulling their troops together. Portugal's got a lot of their colonial nations involved in this conflict. Sometimes that's a little bit difficult to do. Like, we've got these guys coming up from Colombia, which is down here. They should be fighting against Murcia, but they haven't been doing so. They brought in Portuguese Mexico. California's here. California's come a long way. I'll have to take a look at what their relations are with their colonial miners. Let's do this from Portugal's perspective. just so I can take a quick look at their subjects. So if we sort this by type, then we can have all of the colonial nations here. Very high relations of most of them. Liberty desire is almost nothing. And I think that the higher your relations and the lower the liberty desire, the more likely they are to help you out in wars. So yeah, getting a lot of stuff from that. Kokomis wants peace. Mexico wants peace. But there can be no peace, just war. I didn't miss the fight, did I? Where'd they go? I missed the fight, didn't I? In the 1 second I clicked away. Or did it happen in front of my face and I just didn't notice? Oh no. Nope, that's not it. Yeah. There is no conflict here, really. 6,000 men. I missed it, apparently. Bugger. Losing a ton of money, got no manpower. Yeah, I can't really see Kokomis pulling this one out. Why are France and Ireland protected the players aren't coming back? Mostly it's to give other people a chance to move in and take them over. And also, it gives players a little bit more time to set up alliances and divide up the territory before the wars really begin. And you never know, people change their minds. They might want to come back, and the opportunity is still there if they do. Stability hit, oh dear. And there we go, peace has been declared. So what did the Portuguese take? That. Oh, let me guess, gold mines? Gold mines. That makes sense then. So the Dutch took these ones, the Portuguese took these ones. A little bit surprised that Portugal didn't try to take more of this territory here just to cut the Dutch off. But I guess they could always have come in by sea behind them, kind of like the Portuguese did there. So, okay. So Portuguese Mexico has expanded quite a bit. If we go back to Portugal and select them so we can have a look at the subjects, we will be able to see how much money they are making. So at the moment Mexico is 0.3. It's still quite a poor colony. And of course they need to actually get the stuff cored. And a lot of the money from Mexico is actually going to be in the form of treasure fleets rather than straight up income through taxation. Without any representation, of course. As a Dane, I'm hoping that Denmark can gain some play in the UK. They already have. They've taken over the majority of Scotland and have pushed down through Yorkshire, which I'm quite happy to see called Dork right now. And Scarborough, apparently. Dork and Scarborough. And Hull. So if anyone did want to join the game, there are several large nations available at the moment. All you would need to do is head over to our Discord. Oh dear, here comes the Commonwealth attacking the Ottomans. I think the Arabia has been kind of caught snoozing here. Let's see if the AI Ottomans are able to do any damage. They do still own Crimea. I suspect that this is the Commonwealth going after Constantinople now. Some very, very large stacks and some very, very well-led units. I mean, the Commonwealth military is certainly not to be underestimated. 40 infantry combat, 73 cavalry combat, and then 10 artillery. So it's their back line which isn't going to do a huge amount of damage. If you can butcher their front lines with your own really good artillery and a very, very strong fire round, then maybe you can hold. But once they get the chance to hit you back again, oof. Sadly, France left, otherwise maybe Italy could turn on the common blob. Well, apparently, according to the player of Italy, their plan was to do that, and then they were declared war on by one of these players. I think it might have been Aragon, which basically said, no, I need to keep my allies in order to face off against those allies. So he decided not to. Oh, the Ottomans AI. The Ottomans are indeed AI, and they are unprotected, which means they can be gobbled up. So there are a couple of nations which are protected. France, Ireland, being the big ones. And, no, Aragon's not protected. Which means that their players have only just left, or it could also mean, like in the case of Ethiopia, the player just hasn't shown today, in which case they're protected for one session. They cannot be attacked by player nations, and if you do manage to get into a war with a protected nation, you just have to white peace them. You can't take any territories from them. The Ottomans were formerly a player, but they've missed more than one session. After that one session, your protection is dropped, and you are completely open to conquest. Denmark, Italy, Arabia could team up and punch the common blob. I can't see Denmark doing it. Denmark is far too vulnerable. The main defense Denmark would have would be their navy, and because the common blob has already landed, and they've taken the rather vital Åland crossing here, like, I would never have given this up if I was Denmark. Then they could cross through here, and Denmark would get butchered by the Commonwealth. Like, the main defense Denmark has is completely avoided by the Commonwealth. They could have used Sapmi, and in fact, they did Sapmi at the same time they ceded Åland. As like, so you fortified your north, okay, that's a good move, and given them a back door. Not such a good move, because now the Sapmi defenses can be just completely ignored, because you just go through Åland, which is a much easier route anyway. Ottomans are fighting back. They are fighting for Constantinople. 52,000 troops here. Ottomans are losing money. They still have a fair old chunk of manpower. They do have some excellent generals. Wow, look at all that shock. 30 infantry, 25 cavalry, and 10 artillery. The Ottomans still packs a surprising punch. Oh, but Arabia... Oh, Arabia has declared war. Okay, good. So Arabia is pushing up from the south. Commonwealth is pushing from the north. And this is going to be down to Arabia to try and cut the Commonwealth off. I'm not sure I would stick 117,000 men in one province. You are going to be taking some absolutely ludicrous attrition for that. There's no reason for it. Just out of curiosity, if a player gets into war with a protected nation, can the player take war reps so money is just white peace? Just white peace. If Andalusia is smart enough, they would attack Portugal while the troops in Mexico. True, but if I was playing as Portugal and I was fighting in Mexico, I'd probably be relying mostly on my colonial armies. So Andalusia doesn't actually have any way of particularly well knowing that their troops are away. Right, where's the Ottoman stack? They're over here. Oh no, and they're splitting up. And there's a Commonwealth stack right here who's just going to take Constantinople right back again. This is so wasteful, Arabia. Why are you running around with such a big stack? You don't have infinite manpower. But then again, those are all mercenaries. But still, that's going to be costing you a pretty penny, money that you could be investing in other people. Well, I guess we know how Arabia is getting their manpower. And Arabia is taking land a lot quicker than the Ottomans are. How much are you spending on your army at the moment? 148 ducats. Crikey. That's triple the budget of the Commonwealth. Not particularly efficient.